I just want to do God's will.
The kind of revolution that the world needs is a Christian revolution.
If you want a miracle, you've got to expect it to happen.
You are the recipients of God's grace and God's blessings, and you rejoice in that reality.
Welcome to Life Today Live. Are you ready? Buckle up. It's going to be a good one today. Longtime friend of the ministry and friend of the family and all around great person. Chonda Pierce is with me today. She has a book out. You don't see her right now, but she's over here. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll get to her. All right, I'm going to show you the book real quick. It's called Life is Funny Until It's Not. And this is an interesting book, especially from a comedian, because like the title says, life is funny until it's not, which, by the way, Chonda, is actually how my wife describes my sense of humor. She's like, you're funny until you're not. So, little personal.
So, you know, I agree with your wife.
I know. Unfortunately, that can be the case. But we're not here to talk about me, which I've got you back on Zoom. By the way, you did broadcast last time on Zoom as well.
Yeah.
You used to actually come see us.
I gotta quit working so hard.
so you
guys, I know.
You just had a show last night, and you're on a bus right now, and so you're busy. You got a lot of good things going on. Life is good for you.
It is great. Life is good. Life is good. Life is busy, and you know that's a blessing. Oh, look, there's my assistant walking.
Yeah. Hello. Hi, nice to meet you. Would she like to join the conversation?
She's so adorable. There's the first today on Life Today. I'm just saying.
Yep, there you go.
You know, I used to come in, and she is adorable. But you know, when these things get scheduled, I can't say no, and so I have to work, but I still have to see you. And your wife is right. You're kind of funny that you're the pick. You pick at your sister right here.
Yes.
And I'm sure that's doubly more at home. But
yeah. You know what my wife likes? And we just celebrated 33 years of marriage. So something's working out. But she really likes when I sneak in the room and she's not aware that I'm in the room, and then I make some weird noise, kind of like something like that. She loves that.
No, she doesn't. No wife does. And sometimes my husband would walk in the room and scare me, and I would jump, but it scared him because he wasn't trying to scare me.
Right. Yeah. Well, we're old enough. We do that to each other as well sometimes. So it's all part of the deal.
Listen, it is. You're right. Life is funny until it's not. And what I hate about this book is there's a whole lot of that's not funny.
Yeah.
But God is faithful through all of it, the up and the down and the good and the bad. God is there. And I loved your opening thing where it says the mercy, the grace and mercy of God. Woo! Your daddy has taught me that.
Yeah.
You taught me.
Well, yeah, I think we need to remind each other of that. And that's a lot of what, just the Christian life is, and community and being a part of community. And so first question before we get into some of the hard parts. Is why did you even want to go back and revisit this and put it down into a book?
You know, some of it I have not written about. A whole lot of it I have not ever written about. And I tell you what, you want to know the bottom line? I do think of Jesus is about to come, and I think about also I'm getting old, and as I slow down a little bit, there is so much you could say on stage, but it's quick, and you get to the point and you say, this is what the Lord's helped me through, and you say goodnight. There is so much detail between every trauma of your life. For every hill, every, great mountaintop or great valley, there's a journey in between there. There's the slide down into the valley, and there's the climb up out of the valley. And so that is where you learn. And I just prayed and thought, if I feel as normal as anybody, well, I never feel normal, but I feel as regular as a person as, out there. And I think if I've learned these things, some of them the good way, and some of them I've learned the hard way, maybe I could help someone's journey And that would be the only reason you would write some of the toughest details of your life,
Yeah.
is to share your journey. And some journeys are not pretty. You know, it's one of the things I've loved about your family is the deep honesty. It's very rare to see a very famous pastor and preacher and evangelist and crusader tell the worst about his childhood and his life and tear up about it and say, but look what God has delivered me from.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad taught me a lot of that. You've been very honest, going, man, sometimes it's hard to be the son of someone famous, and I'm doing my thing and my part. And so those are the things I love about you. Those are the things I've learned about the people that I hold dearest in my heart, is the honesty. And I decided I needed to be brutal honest. I don't want to be held up as some icon. I'm not a theologian. I'm not a pastor. I'm a comedian. And I've learned some tough stuff, but I have also seen the grace and mercy of God firsthand. Those are the miraculous things in my life. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one thing when my dad tells about the worst of his life. It is another thing when he tells about the worst of my life. Not always appreciated, but
no. I'm a preacher's kid's life. I'm a pastor's kid. I hated being the sermon illustrator.
Exactly.
I tell that to pastors all the time. Don't use your kids in every sermon, or they're going to be in therapy like me, or they're going to turn out like me.
That's funny. So there's an old saying in writing and in comedy, tragedy plus time equals comedy, which if I remember the first time I heard that, I thought tragedy. But then you look at a lot of comedy and it's actually very true, but you do need some separation from distance. You've got a little different take on that.
Yeah.
What do you say?
I say, what did I say? I said tragedy.
Comedy plus time equals relief.
Yes. That is, tragedy plus time equals comedy, but comedy plus time is a great reprieve and a great relief. I can remember when I started out, I would tell some stories, and I know where my heart was, and I know I was using that moment to get back at somebody, or I hoped that they heard that joke, you know what I mean? And I didn't have enough time between the hurt and what drove that deflecting joke. I don't have to use that anymore. As time begins to heal, time then becomes your best friend, and healing sets in. And then the comedy is rich and fun and a reprieve, and it's grand. So comedy used poorly can be a great deflection, but comedy used correctly, it is beautiful medicine, just as God created. He said the laugh would be medicine to us. And I'm going to tell you something. For 32 years, I've been doing this. I think it's my crowd that's been my reminder that God loves me, is because they still come. They still buy tickets. We still laugh. And most of them know the worst and the best of me. And I think that is the body of Christ. I think that is what the body of Christ is like, that we know, you may know people's ups and downs, but on this day today, there's grace and redemption, and then we move on. Yeah.
So do you ever get I know there's a time to be serious, right?
Right.
You can't always, you have to address that, which is what you're doing in your book, or you're very serious in your book. But do you ever get sort of the uptight religious crowd that gets a little irritated?
There's my eyebrows. Yeah. It used to be early on, it was, and I used to tell my comic friends, that do clubs. I'm like, you think you're funny? You come be funny in front of a crowd that doesn't have a 2-drink minimum. How funny you are. Make a bunch of Baptist deacons laugh on Easter. That's a hard job. I see that, and I still get it occasionally. Some people don't like my comments about Joe Biden, or they don't like my teasing about Democrats, or I am very specific about, being alert to what your children are doing and thinking, and I make jokes about that, and they don't like it. I tell about my tattoo and where it is, and they don't like it, what I learned about, at first, that used to bother me. For every negative comment, I am blessed online to get thousands of good ones, but that one negative one, you're right, it would just bother me and hurt my feelings, because you don't leave your house hoping to insult somebody, and comedy is so subjective. What I think is
Right.
absolutely hilarious,
Right.
my mother would whoop me for, and it's hard. At this point in my career, what's a blessing is those people don't come anymore. When you're a ticketed artist, times are tough, and the people that really love you will buy a ticket. The rest just stay home.
That's funny. That's pretty funny. So on the hard parts, and I almost hate asking this, and we did it on the broadcast, and asked some tough questions. But God, Chonda, you talk about some stuff that here's the saddest part in a lot of ways. It's not like these are big mistakes that you made and then you paid the consequences for your own actions, like most of us.
Yeah.
This is bad stuff happening to an innocent girl and an innocent woman. I mean, it's like some people have both intentionally and unintentionally cut you deep, and that's hard.
It is hard. And at the same time, I think that's universal. We're in a world of fallen people. I was sexually assaulted, several years ago. I had to go to counseling. I learned a lot. And where I know that no is no, and none of that, the assault itself was not my fault. I didn't think, and I wasn't alert like I should have been. And let's be honest, I wrote about it in the book. I was at a karaoke bar. I wound up writing a movie about that particular place. And the movie was successful and sweet and all that. But at the same time, I shouldn't really have been there. As a single woman in a dark bar late at night, and I thought, what was I thinking? I should have had a friend. I've learned all these things. If you are an Episcopalian and you have a drink every now and then, never leave it. Don't walk away from it, because things happen. People put stuff in it, or they switch them up, or whatever. So those are I'm not completely in the assault. I am innocent.
Yeah.
But in the life that I was searching for or looking, for love in all the wrong places, that dark time where I was trying to fight my way through widowhood and figure out who am I and where do I go and how do you meet people?
Yeah.
I attend a very small Free Will Baptist church now in my community because there's not very much option in my little tiny town with 2 traffic lights. And I miss my big mega fun church, the World Outreach, where I could meet someone, and so I had that desperate moment of, I don't want to die alone. I don't want to be alone. So what do? And I did the wrong thing. And I should have waited on God. And every single woman out there, especially high profile Christian woman, the guy knew who I was and he made it jabs about it. And, and I was trying to be all cutesy and fun, like I could do this, and so I almost didn't write about it. We did this book. We edited it so many times. We took it out. We put it back in. We took it out. We put it back in. But I needed someday my grandchildren will read it. Someday my kids needed to know Mom is truthful. I told the worst thing of me, and I've told a lot of good things about me. And all of it is who I am. It's what I've learned. And I pray that women read that chapter especially and learn what not to do, when you're
at the same time, no, the punishment does not fit the crime, if you want to call it that. Like, yeah, okay, maybe you should have been more, but still, any of those, I should have been, no, that should not happen. That should not have happened to you.
No, you're right.
Period. It's just wrong every day of the week. And there's no amount of, if I'd have just, been extra careful. It's like, seriously. I mean, be cautious. I get all that. But dear God, that's just wrong. That's just a crime committed against you. And here's my question. How do you come back from that?
Wonderful counselors.
Yeah.
pastors, wonderful friends like you that make me feel like there are integral men in my life that defend me, that love me with all my flaws and brokenness. That's what you have to focus on. And not to make this, but I've been very honest and open about when your dad came along in my life, this will tear me up, but he was one of the most integral men and Christian leaders and pastor types that was real. And I know this sounds terrible, but I travel around and I see a lot of pastors. Do I've had some, not very healthy conversations with married men in a church, that don't need to happen. So when occasionally God reveals an integral man to a broken woman, that's a beautiful, beautiful thing where we can learn and be hopeful and go, and they are out there, that every man is not a jerk. And when I was assaulted, I had wonderful men I could call on to go, this happened, I don't know what to do. And I couldn't put it in the book because you don't want to expose people that don't want to be exposed, but small town has their way of taking care of business.
In Tennessee.
And they did take care of business, you know what I mean? And so it is a fact that most promiscuous, I can't even say the word, women, if you test their background, they had fallen fathers, they probably were abused. That whole thing of looking for love in all the wrong places is really true for a lot of people, and for men too. When you don't have a healthy married relationship in front of you, you are hungry for something that you don't even know exists because you've never seen it. And so I am blessed that people have come along in my life and changed that idea and that search for me. Yeah. All right. I want to show people the book again. This is Life is Funny Until It's Not. And as you can tell by now, it's not always. And the subtitle, a comic story of love, loss, and lunacy. And we didn't even get to some of the loss. How's the lunacy working out for you these days? Still medicated. You know what's so crazy? I told a crowd last night going, I am so blessed these shows sell out. If y'all knew me like I knew me, I wouldn't buy a ticket.
But so how does humor help you through a lot of the difficulties you've been through?
Oh, just the joy of it. The sound of laughter, the sound of, and the reward. I am blessed that I am in a job that has instant gratification, and that's a blessing. I don't have to wait to read the mail to see if somebody liked it. They will laugh right then and there. Now, the opposite of that is true.
It's
too.
Right. Yeah.
Rejection as well. Yeah. If something doesn't work. But it is a blessing to know that people on a platform, if you're not careful, you can get addicted to that fun of having that instant gratification, and I've really learned to figure out when it's my job and when I'm just home and I'm not on a stage, how do you find joy then? And what's sweet is when I learned that the joy of the Lord is my strength. That means I don't have to rely on me so much to keep me happy. I rely on the Lord.
Well, and the other thing, you run into a lot with anybody who's on stage, whether it's my dad preaching, a music performer, worship artist, or in your case, a comedian, is there is that. I mean, there's something to standing on a stage and having the approval of a crowd, right? I mean, it's very rewarding. As a performer, you want them to approve. That's a definition of what you're doing, but
that's not real.
It is, but also the rejection then would be real. Here's the thing: the only approval you need, I know you know this up here, is God's approval on your life, and that, for a lot of people on stage, that's a hard thing to get to that point because of the nature of what they do.
I agree. My opinion on that, and I think I've touched on it a little bit in the book. I think that's where people get in trouble. Even Christian artists. Have you met a Christian artist? Some of your favorite singers out there. I've been around them, and they're diva and jerky and,
Right.
you know, they're no fun to be around.
Right.
It's because they believe that spotlight.
Right.
They believe it so much that they feel like they deserve that when they're not on the stage. They get addicted to it. A lot of our favorite comics we've lost, Robin Williams, all of them, they get that wonderful feeling, and then you want that all the time. You want that even when you're not on stage, and you will try to chase after it. And many of our artists will chase after it from drugs and alcohol or relationships, and that's what they're trying to mimic, is that delight that you get on the spotlight. It is why a lot of our wonderful artists and pastors fall from that spotlight.
Right.
Because when they're not in it, they're trying to mimic that feeling of gratitude and you know, that just adrenaline pumping, and they'll go look for that, or they'll let their guard down, or they'll have an inappropriateness in their life that destroys it.
So
because they were trying to have that feeling again.
Right.
So you have to, this is my job, and this is my life. Yeah.
So I mean, was it hard? I mean, have you got to that place where you are comfortable being out of the spotlight and just loved by God, even when nobody else is around to applaud that?
I think it's probably the same for you, Randy, because, you know, we are good friends and you're like a brother to me. But I had to learn that, or I'll fall apart, or I'll crash.
Yeah.
And I crashed before, so I don't want to do that again. You know, and your father was one of the only people that ever called me while I was depressed and in a psychiatric hospital, just thinking I'm going to die. The sweet thing is, in that lesson of learning it the hard way, I'll never do that again. You know what I mean? I will learn real quickly. And I lead a very quiet, private life. I live on 100 acres out in the middle of nowhere. You know, you have to have the gate code to get in. You know what I mean? It is very, very quiet. I fish by myself when I'm not doing, you know, I love that. I ride my bike down the trails, you know, and so it is a very quiet life, and I've learned to be really, really grateful for it, because I crashed, and I don't want to ever do that again. Yeah.
You're good just being a daughter of the King.
Yes, absolutely. What a great place to be.
Love it. Love it. Chonda Pierce, I appreciate you. I want to shoot people your website real quick. People can follow up with you, see where you're at, where they can find you, and catch the book and all sorts of other fun stuff. It's simplychonda.org, CHONDA.org if you're listening. And hope you have a great, busy, but also at times restful summer as you go out doing your stuff, and help people catch a show. They're fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. You're a good friend.
Well, and you're kind and gracious and funny. Although I get a little uncomfortable with some of the Spanx and menopause jokes, I will admit that. So, all right.
Yes, but your wife loves me.
Yeah. We all love you, Chonda, and we appreciate you being here today. Hey, hit that share button so other people can hear from her. If you haven't liked, followed, or subscribed, please do that, and pick up her book. We'll see you next time here on Life Today Live.